Hello everyone, and welcome to part 4 of making a resource pack. And today I'll be showing you how to make 3D models, well, custom 3D models. And today we're going to create 4 custom models as examples. The first model, we're going to create a crafting table, and then we're going to create a custom hat which you can actually wear in game. And then we're going to modify the beacon model. Then we're going to create a complex model that will change its color for whatever biome it's in. Vines, grass, the grass block, you get it. So before I start this video, I'm just going to assume that you've watched the other parts, because I will not be covering the creation of a resource pack. We're simply creating the models and where we've left off from before. I'll have the previous parts in the link in the description, and with that out the way, let's start. So let's start with the crafting table. It's a very detailed block. The texture is detailed, but the model is just as flat as every other block. So let's give this block some more depth. And to do that, we're going to create a custom model. So we're going to be using a software known as Blockbench. I'll leave a link in the description to download it. And once it's downloaded, you can start up. I'm going to be clicking Blender at the top when you first start it up. It's just a key map set. Just set your keybinds to Blender's thing. That's basically it. Oh well, once you've chosen Blender, you can select Java block/item because we're creating a block. So we're going to be replacing the crafting table model, so we can name this crafting_table. Leave everything as is because the texture is still 16 by 16, and we're going to untick ambient occlusion because in some cases ambient occlusion can rather make the model a little more ugly. For instance, this piston just has this random dark splotch on the back, so we can leave this off, and now we just press confirm, and here we are. Using the middle mouse button to move around because I've set it to Blender's key map. Middle mouse button to move around, scroll wheel to zoom in and out, shift middle mouse button to pan around, and that's basically all the movement controls. So now the first thing we can actually do is get the texture for the crafting table. We go to .minecraft versions, and I'm just using 1.18.1's resources, so I have the new textures and stuff. Textures, block, crafting table, and we've got 3 faces. But these textures are in the versions folder, so I'm just going to create another folder, go back to .minecraft, and then go to our resource pack that we made right here, assets, Minecraft textures, block, and now we can copy and paste these in. I'll leave this window open for later, and now we can drag these textures into Blockbench, because now it's importing from our resource pack, and now we can actually start creating the advanced models. So in Minecraft, we can identify what the block actually looks like. We've got all the 3 faces, but there's actually a face under. So this is the default oak planks texture, so I have to get that as well. Just like so. And now we can also drag that in. So now we can start creating the geometry. So for my design, I was thinking having these pillars kind of extruded out, and then insetting all the oak plank textures in here, and then just this base. And so once you've analyzed the block and what you want to do with it, we can start creating this face. Alright, so the base is still going to be 16 by 16 pixels, so we can hop into Blockbench, add in a cube with this button. Just like in Blender, if you press G, it will allow you to move blocks. If you press S, it will allow you to scale the blocks. And then R to rotate, except you have to press this button every time to center the pivot. So we can press S, pull that out. So now we have a 16 by 16 base. And with these corner lines, that would also be geometry. So press G to set it back to the move thing, add another cube, move it up once, Shift D to duplicate the cube, move it, select both with Shift click, Shift D, move it, select the other cubes. And just for reference, I'm going to duplicate this, center the pivot, rotate it, move it up, but in this case it seems to be off-centered. So we can hold in Shift when moving these things, and then we can have a finer movement or rotation, Control for even finer, and then Control Shift for even finer. So this appears to be in line, so we can just put that over here. So this face is exactly 16 by 16, so 16 in height. We can make the crafting table just high enough, but not too high. S to scale. And if you're holding Alt while scaling, it will scale on both axes. But I don't need that, so we can just scale this. Now for the extra detail. Now in this case, a crafting table has faces on a specific orientation, and unlike logs which can rotate when placed, these always face the same way. So wherever we're facing north, then this would be the face in the front, which means in Blockbench, with this north indicator, this will be where our face would be. So this face is going to be this face. Now we don't need our reference of height, so we can just delete that. So we have the basic model of our cube. And what I like about Blockbench is that you can just drag and drop textures. Now obviously it's a little broken, so when you select the face, we can modify its UVs. So as the model is 14 by 13, you kind of have to match it up. So it's 1 pixel there, so we put it like that. 2 pixels down, those pixels down. So this is now the front face. As for here, that face, it's actually like that. And on the top front face over here, we add in that texture as well. Move that in place. And because this is 3D, you're going to have these extra geometries. So for the bottom face, wait, no, that's not the bottom. Where is it? Oh, it's just rotated. Okay, alright, we can just use this to rotate that, by the way, and put that on the same face, so it looks like it's just lapping over. And we'll do the same for the top face. And I think when we select a block, we can just, with the texture selected and the block selected, we can right-click, apply to elements. So now it just applies the texture to all the faces. So at our up face, appears to be rotated as well, so I'm just gonna flatten that. Then also make that the top face. So now it just looks like it's lapping around. And for the south face, also should lap around. So now it just looks like it's wrapping around. I said that many times now. So I'm just gonna select this and this and this. Right click, apply to elements. Now in this case, this model, well actually this model is a better example. It contains all the textures, yet we just want this face to show for this front texture. So luckily we can just drag a texture just to apply to that individual face. Then the texture can change for every other side if you drag and drop. Now as you can see, we've got many cubes in our outliner, so we can just start creating groups and folders to better organize what's happening here. So I can call this saw for the saw tool. Just select all the blocks and then just move them into that folder. Then I'm going to create another folder, call that hammer. Just move those 2 cubes into there. And as for everything else, I'm going to create a folder called base. Folder, base. I can just minimize these. For everything else, I think everything else seems to be the extra detail. So I can call this lines. I don't know. And sometimes if the textures don't seem to look like they're matching up, you can always rotate the UVs. go, the UVs of the tools are finally done. So the orientation of this, let's just look. So let's see, the orientation of the planks facing north compared to normal planks is the bottom texture. So the bottom part of this texture is going to be that bottom facing north. So that's for north, bottom texture, it seems to already be there. I just pressed Auto UV to fix that tiny issue. It's probably the same for here. Yep, Auto UV. There we go, bottom face looking normal. Right, now with this face completely done with all our geometry, we can hop into Minecraft and see if you move this way, it has the same face. So not much work really needs to be done. We can just duplicate these and paste it here. So we can delete that to move it out the way. Shift D the base, rotate it. And we're just going to shrink it so that it can actually fit in here. And then we're going to do Auto UV to remove the stretching. It's going to select all the blocks that are also in the same collection as the block you selected, unlike control clicking, which individually does it. So like so, we can just Shift D to duplicate these and rotate it. And we move it into place. Okay, it's just this cube that seems to be broken, so we'll just set it to 2. Which means that's probably broken, or it's not. There we go, now both sides are ready. And now we just rinse and repeat for the other 2 sides. Now the bottom and all the sides are complete. All that's left is the top face. And since we've made it this far, we might as well save our progress. I'm just going to do Ctrl S and then just save it to my desktop. Now all that's left is to add this into Minecraft. We've got to go to Display. Now this is how you hold your model in the game. So because it's a standard block, we can just go to the top left to apply a preset, go to default block and apply to all slots. Now in all the different view modes, it would look normal. Okay, now we are ready to export it. Export as block/item model. Save it to the desktop, why not? Oh, and apparently you already saved it from the Ctrl S. I didn't know that, I thought it was an export. Oh well, that's the last thing. Save, replace, there we go. And now with our 3D model, we can go to our resource pack, go to Minecraft, where we have our textures folder, but we're going to create a new folder in here, known as models. Then inside the models, we type in block. Then in block, we can just put this crafting table into here. Now all that's left is to go into Minecraft and refresh the resource pack. And why didn't it work? Because I don't have the pack installed. Bruh. Okay, now with the pack installed, we refresh and our model is working with all the details. And the textures that are being rendered for these models I mean, if you go into Blockbench, we have our textures in here, but luckily they have been imported from the resource pack itself. So now we know once we export the model, the textures are also in the pack as we've imported from the pack. That's that crafting table. Beautiful. Although we have one small issue. Now this, on the outside, it looks pretty good. But if you go inside the block... Okay, just because the pink and black is here, it doesn't mean the model itself is just broken. It's because we've unallocated textures inside. But what we want to do is hide these textures. Because if we go into other blocks, they're completely invisible. This is just how Minecraft optimizes like hundreds or thousands of blocks without your game lagging. So as for this model, even if we go into the smallest little cubes, we can see all the individual faces. And that is extremely unoptimized. So what we have to do is do a thing called Backface Culling, which kind of just hides the faces inside. Although I landed up breaking the model in the future, as efficient as this is, I actually landed up breaking the model and made me realize I don't actually know how Backface Culling really works. So if anybody knows how to fix that problem in Blockbench, please do tell me in the comments. We can go back into Blockbench for our model, select everything with just pressing A on the keyboard with the blender preset as I said before. One of these, if I customize the toolbar, there should be this thing over here, auto cull face. So if I add that in and maybe add that in as well, I don't know. Cull face, apply, oh I see. So we can just press auto cull face. It's a bit of a lazy way to do it, but hopefully this is what is required. Nope, that was not what was required. I need a professional. So now I've just saved the model, go back to the desktop, move that in, replace it. There we go, so now it's a proper model once again. Refresh. Now hopefully as soon as we enter the cube, it should be invisible. Oh, come on. Well, I still have some more experimenting to do, but maybe it's just because this model is extremely complex. Well, that was a semi-disaster, but now let's move on to creating a completely custom model instead of using textures from the game. So for our next custom model, we can create a Java block / item once again. And now let's see the next model we can replace. Then let's try a lightning rod. Now you can't put this on your head, but with a command, lightning rod. Now wearing it on your head breaks it, but we can change how it will render on your head. And to make sure it works, models, block, lightning rod. And now we can go to Blockbench, call this lightning _ rod, make sure it's the same as before, turn off ambient occlusion, then press confirm. Now we can check the Minecraft head is 8 by 8 pixels, or 3-dimensionally 8 by 8 by 8 pixels. So I can just add in a cube, make the size 8 by 8 by 8. This is our reference. And now we can add in a cube. This will be the base of the top hat. Then I can add in another cube. There you go. So now instead of importing the textures, we can create the textures. So if we go to the paint mode, then create texture, we're just going to call this top _ hat, and then the resolution we're going to put it at 16 by 16 because we don't really have that much detail. Then we have confirm, and now we can see all the different faces of our top hat already on, you know, the painted display. But instead I'm just going to do the paint bucket, make each face black, and actually apply this top hat texture to this element at the bottom as well. We could actually make this a little more gray, just make it perfectly white and just paint a strip because it's a top hat. There you go, lovely top hat. Now I can go back into the edit mode, delete the cube, which was the head, move these down, move that down, and now we can go into the display. Now we're going to treat this as a Minecraft block, so we're just going to do default block, apply to all slots, so it just looks like we're holding a hat. But the difference is, if you view it on the head, we can actually position this. As for the size, I can do 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, move it up more. So now it will display on the head as a top hat. Same for zombies, baby zombies, armor stand small. So there you go, top hat for the player. Now we can go to File, Export as model and block. Just go to the desktop, lightning_rod.json. Here we go. Make sure that the file name of your custom model has to be the same name as another model so that you can replace it. So there we go, lightning_rod.json. So with the lightning rod on my head, refresh the pack. And there you go. Except for one small problem. We've got missing textures for this hat, because if we open up the lightningrod.json, it's looking for the texture block_top_hat, and if you go to our textures block, there's no top hat texture. So what we need to do is in Blockbench, right click the top hat texture, do save as tophat.png on the desktop, just press OK, and then put it in block. So now both the texture and the particle are going to look for the same directory, block/tophat and block/tophat. Just refresh. And there's a top hat. And it's a lightning rod, so you can place it. Although with the previous command, I am just gonna put it back on. Alright, so for the next model, we are going to edit the beacon. In this case, we're just going to copy and paste the previous model of the original beacon, and then just make this glass frame three-dimensional. So in this case, with Blockbench open and with the original file, we can search for a beacon. There it is. Ctrl+C to copy. Then in our models folder of our resource pack, we can just paste it. And then we can just drag and drop the JSON file into Blockbench, and it will read it just fine. And the other textures are not found, so we're just gonna have to go to Minecraft, textures, block, right here, so we can just copy that. Same for the obsidian texture, and then same for that beacon texture. I'll close the tab, then import the beacon. The texture is imported successfully, and in this case you can actually see Backface Culling working. So if I select this face, the cull face, what? Okay, somebody tell me how cull facing works in Blockbench in the comments if you know. Because I need to know. Alright, moving on. So the only edit I want to do for this frame is just make it three-dimensional. There we go. Here's our complete glass frame. Now I'm not going to add in those glint details in the glass texture. So now all I have to do is just press Ctrl+S because we imported the JSON file into Blockbench, so we can just do Ctrl+S a bunch of times and you can see it goes to this file specifically. Moving to here, F3+T, and there you go. 3D beacon. And because there's no backface culling like last time, it won't break. Unlike the terribly designed one. And now for the final model that I'll create is something to do with foliage. For instance, vines. Oh, hello, uglies. What have I done? So here's an example. You've got the grass here and the grass here. It's the same block, but the colors change. And if you were to search for grass in the Minecraft textures, it would actually be in black and white. So what we're going to do is create a 3D model that will adapt to different biomes, just like grass and leaves, actually. So let's see if we can change this grass model. So just Ctrl+C that, paste it into here, then we can just go ahead and edit this, and immediately it is not working very well. Oh well, we'll just create a model from scratch then. Now on a scale from black to white, it would show its overall tint. So all the detail on the grass here, that's obviously closer to black and the lighter colors are closer to white. So in Blockbench, I think I've got a gradient tool. Just like a gradient like that. Looks all broken, but this is the example. And now let's save this texture to the same block, cheese.png, and then export this block as grass.json. So now if we refresh, all the blocks well, all the grass is going to be this model that's in black and white. But the key feature here is that there's a line of code called tinted. Yeah, here's the raw model. So here's the line of code, tinted index 0. So now if you want this model to change color due to the biome, we're going to add this tinted index to 0 per face. And luckily it's easy to just select everything, and I don't think it's here, so I just have to customize tinted, or the tint index, but just tint. Then ticket, with all the faces selected, tint, apply to all faces. Well, that semi-broke everything, but give this the gradient, apply to all faces. Okay, so now with this tinted check, we can save the model again, and then refresh everything. So now, from black to white, you can see that all the textures are being tinted by the biome's color. This is terrifying. Yep, resource pack making is fun. And that brings me to the end of this video. Now I know this wasn't exactly set as a Blockbench tutorial, but this should hopefully get you started in some nice, simple or complex models. Seriously, somebody help me fix this. And you can go ahead and start making a resource pack. And that brings me to the very end. If you have any more questions about making resource packs or commands and tutorials overall, you can come to my Discord server. And if you enjoyed the video, you can like and subscribe to show support for the channel. Yeah, I don't know what to add in outros at this point. Like, what's a proper goodbye? Because cutting it instantly is just getting old. What if I cut right here?